Hello friends, welcome to the online platform of Concepts of Geology. We are going to start a new session, and in this session we learn about the practical problems on geological maps, the numerical problems in structural geology also. Today is the first class of the session, and on this first class I will not enter into the realm of the actual subject. Rather, we will try to learn how a geological mapping is done in a real field. That means you may say that we will have a virtual field of geological fieldwork or geological mapping work in this classroom. So let's begin. Now, before talking about anything, we need to know what a geological map actually is. I think you have done at least one fieldwork in your geological life, and on the field you have seen that the rocks are outcropping in a sporadically distributed manner. That means they are scattered in the field. But in our geological map, we are seeing that each and every rock strata are going continuously. So why in the field they are not continuous? Why the rocks are sporadically distributed? Because the in-between portion of two outcrops, they are either covered under the soil, or they may be denuded, or they may be eroded by natural agencies like flowing water or wind or glacier, etc. So through the techniques of geological mapping, we are tracing these outcrops and we are making the rock body continuous in our geological map. The rock bodies are actually continuous in the nature also, but they are covered under the soil. If I can remove the soil cover, then only I can see the continuous manner of the rocks. So what a geological map actually is? A geological map is the bird's eye view of a field or a bird's eye view of the rocks without the soil cover. I am removing the soil cover by the technique of geological mapping, and I am finding the continuous manner of the underlying rock body. How can I distinguish a geological map from other kinds of maps? In geological map, we must have the lithologies or lithoformations drawn. In any other kinds of map, you will never find lithologies or lithoformations are drawn. Next one is the scale should be marked. That means in the field, you have seen the outcrops, they are distant to one another. The distance in between them may be in terms of meters to in terms of kilometer also. But in our mapping, we are plotting it in a piece of paper. That means I am converting the actual scale to my map scale. So that conversion factor is called the scale, and that conversion factor should be mentioned on the map. Next one is the direction should be marked on the map. That means on which direction in the field I will find the north, that should be marked on the map also. Then I need to have an index table in a map. Why? Because while mapping, we are using a lot of symbols or colors to denoting different types of rock bodies or geological features like fold axis or fault plane, etc. So those symbols should be clearly mentioned in the map also. This is called the index of the map. Then a base map may or may not be present in a geological map. But normally a base map is present, especially when we are doing the geological mapping in a very small scale. That means in a very large area, we are taking a topo sheet as a base map. But when we are doing a geological mapping in a very large scale, that means in a small area, we may not have the need to have a base map or a topo sheet, especially if the area is not undulatory, if the area is flat terrain. Okay. Who are making these geological maps in India? Geological Survey of India is the central agency to look after the mapping process throughout the India, or any geological happening throughout the India. But in large scale, in a small area, in academic purpose, any geologist can do the mapping, but the formal agency of geological mapping in India is the Geological Survey of India. Okay. Now, this is a geological map of India. We will try to find out the properties those I have just told, where they are written and whether they are present or not. Firstly, in the map we are seeing different types of colors. These colors are actually depicting some different type of lithoformations or lithologies, or suppose some geologic settings, and those settings or those types of lithoformations, they are written on this table. So this table is the index for the map. In geological time scale, in a particular geological time, some particular happening was there in the world, and accordingly some particular type of rock bodies or environments prevailed in the nature. So those incidents or those types of lithoformations or those happenings, they are mentioned in actually different colors, and those colors are mentioned in the index with respect to the time. Suppose if you look on this portion of India, this portion is made up of mainly sedimentary rocks. They are made by the Indo-Gangetic river systems. They are the alluvial deposits. Okay. So for this portion, a definite color is used. Again, if you see this green color, they are actually the Deccan Trap. So in the index there is written Deccan Trap, and the time is also written, the Upper Cretaceous, when the Deccan Trap was formed. This is a particular type of lithology. This is flat basalt. Okay. Next one is, a scale should be marked in the map. Where the scale is marked in this map? See, here a bar scale is marked, and the scale value is written also, the factor is written also. Then I told the direction should be marked. Now if we look carefully, you will never find a north arrow in this map. So which direction will be the north, where it is mentioned? Is there any technique to find out the north direction in this map? Yes. You can see there are some parallel lines, they are horizontal lines, and these are vertical lines. Okay, the horizontal lines are parallel to each other, and the vertical lines are emerging from one point and they are entering into one point. These horizontal lines are called latitude lines or parallels, and the vertical lines are called meridians or the line of longitudes. So from these latitude longitude values, I can find out the north in this map. The north will be in this direction. Okay, the north will be parallel to longitude, and it will be directed towards the higher value of the latitudes. So this is how I can find out the north direction in this map. Now tell me where the base map is present in this geological map. Is there any base map? There is no contour drawn here. That means the topography is not shown here. Then how can I say that where is the base map? There is definitely a base map in this geological map also. The base map here is the political boundary, the political map of India. Why? Suppose this is the Himalayan mountain belt, and this mountain belt is also continuing in this direction, but the Himalayan range is not drawn on there. Why? Because it is restricted to India. The drawing is restricted to India because we are using the Indian political map as the base map for our geological mapping. First we had taken the political map of India, and on that map we are drawing different types of lithologies or different types of geological environments or settings. So that means we have definitely a base map here. Again, see, this is also a geological map. This is a very much large scale map. That means a small area is covered in this map. Okay, the scale is written here 1:10,000. That means 1 centimeter is equal to 100 meter in the field. The north arrow is marked here. The different symbols are depicting different type of lithologies, and they are mentioned here. This is the index. A base map is taken here because some contour lines are drawn. The contour lines are not made by geologist, so definitely the geologist who have done the mapping, he or she has taken a base map. So from these features, this can be concluded that this is a no doubt geological map. Now for a while we will talk about the topographic map also, because in most of the cases of geological mapping we are using the topographic map as the base map. In a topographic map, the topography is shown, rivers, valleys or hills, those type of topographic features, they are shown. On a topographic map, contour lines are drawn, and by interpreting these contour lines we can find out where a valley is placed, or where I will find a hill, or where a road section is going on. In case of a geological mapping, a road or nala section or river section or a rail track section is very important, because this is the section where we are going to have the outcrops or the rock cuttings. For practical problems we need to avoid the forest, and we try to do field work nearer to villages, because we can have some helps by villages. Then on the topographic map, again the scale should be marked, the latitude longitude should be shown from where we can get the north direction. The index should be marked, because in topographic map they are also using some symbols. After that, a declination value is clearly written on a topographic map with the time when the declination was measured. Why? This is to identify the true north or geographic north. We will discuss it later about declination. After that, the topo sheet number is written on a topographic map. These topo sheet numbers are actually indicating which state or which district is covered in this topographic map. And last, who are preparing the topographic maps? Survey of India is the central agency to look after the topographic mapping throughout the India. So the contour lines drawn in a geological map, those are not drawn by a geologist, rather those are drawn by Survey of India. We are procuring this map from Survey of India, and we are using as a base map. The geological map is overlaying the base map, and ultimately the total thing is called a geological map. Okay, but the contour lines are not drawn by geologists. This is the part of the base map, the topographic map, which is prepared by Survey of India. This thing should be clear. See, this is how a topo sheet look like. Okay, this is the entire topo sheet. You can find out different types of symbols. They are written on the index table. We will try to find out the properties which I have told, whether they are present or not. I have zoomed and cropped some section of the topo sheet to show you the features. Firstly, see here the topo sheet number is written 78J/7. How can we find out this topo sheet number, or how the topo sheet numbers are made? What is the meaning of the symbol? We will discuss in a later class. But this is the topo sheet number, and from this number we can get which district or which area is covered under this topo sheet. Next one is the scale is marked clearly here. It is made on 1:50,000 scale. That means 1 centimeter in this topo sheet will be 500 meter in the actual ground. Now concentrate here. The magnetic variation from true north is about ½ degree west in 1970. This is the magnetic variation or declination value. Why the time is written here? Why 1970 is written here? Because due to polar wandering, we know the magnetic pole is not fixed. Okay, so when I am using the declination value, I need to know on which time it was measured and whether it is valid till now or not. So this is why the time is mentioned beside the declination value in this map. So whenever we are doing a geological field work, we must have a compass in our hand. In the compass we are having a magnetic needle. This is nothing but a bar magnet, and the magnetic needle will direct it towards the magnetic poles of the earth. But in the map when we are finding the direction mark, suppose north mark or latitude, longitude, whatever, they are marked in terms of the true north, I mean the geographical north. Geographical north means the pole from where the rotational axis of the earth is passing. But any type of magnetic compass will direct it towards the magnetic north or magnetic north pole, rather not towards the geographic north pole. So the angle between the geographic north pole and the magnetic north pole, this is called the declination. Suppose in the globe my position is here. When I am standing here, my magnetic needle will show, it will be directed towards this direction, towards the red line. The red lines are showing the magnetic force line, okay. They are converging in this point, this is the magnetic north pole, and the blue lines are showing the latitude, longitudes, okay. The longitudes, I mean the vertical lines, they are converging in the geographic north pole, the point from where the rotational axis of the earth is passing, okay. So when I am standing here, my compass needle will direct it towards this, but my actual true north is this one, the blue one. So the angle between them is the declination value. The angle is always measured in a horizontal plane because this is a direction. So the declination means the deflection of the magnetic north from the true north. It will vary accordingly in our globe. So after knowing these factors, we will move into the field. During our field work, some instruments we need to have. What things are necessary for a geological field work? Firstly, we need to have a hammer, geological hammer. Then we need to have a pocket lens, and definitely we need to have compasses, okay. This compass is called a Branton compass and this one is called a clinometer compass. Now in this picture you are seeing two types of hammers. I don't know whether you have used these two types of hammers or not, but both are geological hammers. This hammer is very useful in a structural geological fieldwork, the chisel and hammer, because it is needed to break the rock for sampling purpose, and the chisel end is for trim the rock before we are placing it in our sampling bag. This hammer is also a geological hammer, but this is called a rock picker more precisely. This has a pointed end. This pointed end is not for breaking the rocks, because if I stack the rocks with this pointed end, there will be radial crack developing and the sample will be destroyed. So actually this is used to pick up the rock, and precisely we are using it in a paleontological field. Whenever you will buy a geological hammer, try to find out a hammer which is made up of a single piece of metal. This kind of joint actually weakens the hammer, and this should be avoided. Next one is pocket lens. Posture to hold the pocket lens is like this one, okay. You should keep the lens nearer to your eyes, and the rock sample also should be bring nearer to your eyes. Don't keep the rock sample distant from your eyes and move the lens nearer to the rock sample. This is the correct posture to observe a rock. So we have understood a lot of things about the magnetic compass, but now the problem is how to find the true north or the geographic north, because I have a magnetic instrument in my hand which is always going to be directed towards the magnetic pole of the earth. But in the map I have latitudes, longitudes drawn, or I have a north arrow which is actually indicating towards the true north, the geographic north, okay. But my compass is directed towards the magnetic north. So how can I find the geographic north? By this compass or by any other method? I have already told that we have the declination values or declination chart which we can find out from any literature, and at any point on the earth I can take the reading from the magnetic compass, and I can have the declination value from the literature. After adding or subtracting the declination value, we can rectify my direction, we can calibrate the direction. Okay, so this is a mean by which we can convert the magnetic north to the geographic north. This is called the calibration. But if I don't know what is the declination value where I am doing the field work, if I don't have the base map with me, how can I do it? Suppose we are doing the field work in northern hemisphere in India, and I have a wristwatch in my hand. I have to place the wristwatch horizontally, just like we hold a compass for measuring any direction. Okay, and we need to keep this hour hand directed towards the sun. Suppose in my wristwatch, in this figure, the time is 3 p.m. Okay, this is the hour hand. I need to place this hour hands directed towards the sun. Okay, so if this is 3, this is 2, this is 1, and this is 12. So horizontal angle will be made between this 12 line and the hour hand. Okay, this angle will be a horizontal angle. Why? Because my wristwatch is held horizontally. Okay, I don't need the minute hand here. I just need the 12 marking on the wristwatch dial and the hour hand. Place the hour hand directed towards the sun and find out the 12 marking on the dial of the wristwatch. Find out the angle between them. Okay, try to bisect the angle by an imaginary line. This imaginary line will be the north-south line on the area. Okay, this line will be north-south line, but which end will be north and which end will be south, I have not told that. Okay, if this line is the north-south line, then which will be the east-west line? The east-west line will be perpendicular to the north-south line. Okay, now all these are lines. I don't know where will on which end will be south, on which end will be east or west. How to find that? Now you need to know the time on the wristwatch. The time is 3 p.m. On 3 p.m. the sun is on a setting mode. The sun is setting now. So if this is the east-west line, the sun always sets towards west. So this end will be west because the sun is here now. Okay, this end will be east, and when this is east and this is west, this end will have to be south and this end will have to be north. So my north arrow will be like this one. I can have the north direction, the true north direction, the geographic north direction from a wristwatch in a field. This technique is told for northern hemisphere. But if I don't have a wristwatch in field, or I have lost my wristwatch in my field, then how can I find out the true north or true geographic north? I can find out the geographic north. First I have to find out a stick in the field. Okay, I will stick in a ground. We know the earth is rotating from west to east, and that's why the sun is rising on the east and setting on the west. And as the sun is rising from the east or moving from the east to west, the shadow of anything in the earth will move from west to east. It will be directed opposite towards the sun. Okay, if the sun is moving from east to west, the shadow will move from west to east. Suppose the shadow of the stick is like this one. After a certain minutes, the shadow will move because the earth is moving. Okay, so after suppose 10 or 15 minutes, my shadow has been moved here. So as the sun has moved from east to west, that means the shadow definitely moved from west to east. So that means if I place a stone here or a marking here and a marking here, and I join the line between these two markings, I will have the east-west line. Which end will be west? This end will be west because this was the starting point, and this end will be east. When I am getting the east-west direction, I can find the north direction also. This will be this one. So these are two techniques to find out the geographical north, the true north, the north from where the rotational axis of the earth is passing in the field, in northern hemisphere, of course. After finding the north direction in the field, the next work to be done is to locate myself. To locate myself in the map or in the field, I have to take two back bearings from any two known features. Known features means those features should be identifiable in the base map and on the field. Okay. I have to plot the two back bearings in the map, two lines on the map, and the intersection point of the two lines will be my location. So in a word, I have to take two back bearing. Here is the first question coming: how to take back bearing? Suppose in this area of the earth, the magnetic field is going like this, okay, north and south. This is the magnetic north direction. So whenever I will place my compass in this field, my magnetic needle will be directed toward this. The north pole of the magnetic needle will be directed toward this. Okay. I need to find out a known feature in the field and in the topographic map. Suppose I have find out this hill. I am supposed to take the back bearing from the hill, and I am taking the back bearing from here. I am looking towards the hill, and for taking the back bearing or for taking any direction, the north marking in the compass dial, that should be placed, that should be directed towards the feature. That means the crown end should be placed towards the hill. The compass should be kept in this manner. So I am here and I am looking towards the hill. That means on which direction I am looking? This is the north. I am looking towards the southeast. Okay. I am looking towards the southeast. Now see on which end of the magnetic needle the southeast quadrant is there. You can find on this quadrant. Here the southeast is written. So that means I am looking towards the hill and I am looking towards southeast. The back bearing from the hill, if anyone look from the hill towards me, on which direction he or she will look? She will look towards the northwest direction. This is called the back bearing. I will take the angle with respect to the hill, not with respect to me. Okay. The angle will be taken in this direction, from hill towards the observer. Okay. So that means I need to take the value from the south end of the magnetic needle, because the north end is showing southeast. I mean, this is the forebearing towards the hill, and if the observer is looking from the hill towards me, he will look or she will look towards northwest. So that means this end, the south end should be, the south end value of the magnetic dial should be taken as the back bearing. This is the process how to take back bearing. Keep the north marking on the magnetic dial towards the known feature and take the reading from the south end of the magnetic needle. Now here a confusion is always existing. Why to take the back bearing? I am taking two back bearings from two known hills and I am plotting myself. Why to take back bearing always? Because on the topo sheet the hills are marked, not I. Okay. When I am not knowing my position, when I am trying to fix my position, I need to take back bearing from two known feature. Okay. Suppose this is one hill and this is another hill, and the back bearing is 138 degree. It is measured on this direction. I am standing somewhere here or here. Okay. And again I am taking another back bearing from this hill. This is supposed to 28 degree measured on this direction. I will draw two lines on the map. The two lines will intersect in a point. That point will be the location of the geologist. So why I am taking the back bearing from the hills? Because this is the only way to plot myself with respect to the hill. Okay. So now I have fixed the north direction. I have fixed my location also in the base map. After that, I will start the field mapping. Suppose this is the field view of an area of my field area, and here the rocks are sporadically distributed. The outcrops are sporadically distributed. I am seeing three types of outcrops in this area. First one is these brown color outcrops, then these gray color outcrops, and then these green color outcrops. There are three types of rocks present in this area and they are sporadically distributed. Okay, I need to do the field work, I need to trace the lithology, I need to do the field mapping. How can I do that? For doing that, first I will place my location. Suppose my location is on that point, on point 1. Now to locate this outcrop, I will take the bearing from my point towards the point 3 and I will take the distance in between two outcrops. After that, on the base map, I will plot the angle again, and on that direction, after the certain distance, I will get the point 3. I will convert the field distance with respect to my map scale. Suppose in field it is 300 meter and my map scale is 100 meter equal to 1 centimeter, then it will be 3 centimeter in my map. Okay. So for doing this, we need to have the 4 bearing. I will be here and I will take a 4 bearing from my position towards the third outcrop, towards the outcrop number 3. I will take the direction and the distance also. I will plot both of them in the topo sheet or in the base map, and I will have the position of 3. Again from 3 I will do the same process for 5, again for 7 and again for 9. And after doing all the outcrop plotted, I will trace the outcrop and I will make the rock body continuous. This is the process of field mapping. I think you have understood when to take back bearing and when to take 4 bearing. The back bearing is when? The back bearing should be taken when my position is not known. By taking 2 back bearings, I have fixed my position, and when my position is fixed, I am going to fix the position of an outcrop with respect to me. I need to take the 4 bearing. The 4 bearing will be taken in this direction. Okay, it will be from this to this. Okay, and the back bearing will be taken in this direction. This will be from hill to the geologist. The word from and to will be used accordingly. So by means of 4 bearing and taking the distance, we can do the mapping. Suppose this was the point 1, my first location. I have plotted it here. After that, I have taken the 4 bearing for 3. Suppose this is 20 degree. I will plot 20 degree. I will draw a 20 degree line. The distance is 300 meters. Suppose. So according to my map scale, suppose 300 meter is coming here. So the position of point 3 outcrop, third outcrop will be here. Again, I will take 4 bearing from 3 towards 5. This will be like this one. Suppose this is 0 degree towards north and the distance is 500 meter. So it will be 5 centimeter in my map. Accordingly, I will plot all the points, and after that I will join those points and I will have the outcrop traced. Okay. So this is the entire strata or entire bed. I have traced it from some sporadically distributed outcrop. This is the ultimate goal of our field mapping. Okay. On the map there are some contour lines drawn. Okay. Here see, a river is going on the field and the river is flowing from this direction towards this direction. So the slope of the river valley is in this direction. The contour lines are drawn in the map and it is also showing the slope is towards this direction. The river is drawn here. a lot of tributary rivers is meeting the main river, so they are also drawn on the map. This is a geological map. The north arrow is marked here, the scale is marked here. Okay. What is the base map used here? The base map is the topographic map. Who has made the topographic map? The Survey of India. So what have the geologists done? The geologists have drawn the outcrops, the rock body, the rock formations. Geologists have traced the outcrop of the rock formation. Okay. This position of geologist and the Survey of India should be cleared. So this is the ultimate process of field mapping. I think you have understood the entire process. From today onwards, we will have some such type of maps in our hand and we will solve what kind of geological features are present in this map area. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for today.